Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Living Astrology with Janet Hickox. Grab your cup of coffee or your tea or your iced tea or your water. Sit back and relax, and let's chat about what is happening in the stars above. Hopefully, you all had a great weekend. Today begins a week of Mars energy. Mars energy, because today we're sitting right in the midst of the T-square with Mars in an opposition to Saturn, and both Saturn and Mars in a square to Uranus. So we have heat, we have a trigger to something that maybe needs to get done or needs to be changed. We have a challenge, like somehow life laying down the gauntlet for you to rise to a challenge and to overcome that challenge or to find a new direction. And then as we go down through this week, literally what we have is a series of energies related to Mars. So today we have the T-square. Then later in the week, we have the exact opposition with Saturn. And then the day after that, 2 days after that, the exact square to Uranus. There are no other major aspects going on this week. So you can see it's like all Mars all the time. And we might hear about a lot of different stories in the news, even around Mars, the planet itself, this week, and maybe even some exciting news about Uranus or Saturn as well, because they're very much focal points in the week. So I see everybody's checking in with us this morning. Good morning. I saw J-Lo and Ursula. Good morning to you. Mimi, hello to you. Ingrid, guten Morgen to you as well. I'm sure I just said that wrong. Good morning, Debbie Tippett, Tumiel, and Asa. Great to see you out there, and thank you so much for being here to help. Today, what I hope to do, I do have, a bit of information to share with you. Somehow the graphic I made this morning doesn't want to open up. So we'll see if I can find a workaround for it. And I would like to, if possible, take a look at a couple of charts and outline the T-square like we sort of did on, I think it was Friday. And what I want to do is have that done with people who feel like they're facing a challenge, that they're a great word for this energy today and for the week is really about conundrum. We use that word often in human design because we say that in every human design chart, there is an inborn conundrum. There could be many. There could be, I've never actually seen a chart that didn't have a conundrum in it. I suppose it's possible. But almost every one of us came to the planet with a challenge in mind that we wanted to rise to the occasion or that we wanted to learn through. And right now, the conundrum here is about maybe the direction that we need to take our lives, what we need to change. Remember that square to Saturn and Uranus has been in play for a long time and continues throughout of 2021 in various connections to one another in terms of how close they are together or not. And when we look at the energy of Saturn in Aquarius, we see a sort of battle brewing between the old and the new, trying to find a way forward that is sustainable and a way forward that makes us good stewards of our time, our energy, our planet, our resources. And then we also see Uranus in Taurus. And Uranus is a planet that would automatically go to the new, right? That's what his job is. And he's like the rebellious sort of contrarian. So if you say it's black, he's going to say it's white, because he's often teaching us to awaken to what more is possible, but also to liberate us from something, an old belief perhaps, or in Taurus, likely about finances and greed and resource management and all kinds of Taurus issues, including agriculture, if you will, or how we use the land and land use, water use, all of that kind of thing comes from the sign of Taurus. And then when you throw a planet like Mars into the mix, then you have triggers they're catalyzing energy or instigation energy to create either disruption, which then will force us to move into a new energy, which is entirely possible with Mars. And he's an empowered Mars right now because he's in a fellow fire sign. He's in the sign of Leo. And That means that often it might feel fairly dramatic. Just take a look at the heat wave here in the US on the West Coast. It is a very dramatic picture when you look at it on a map, a weather map. It's been dramatic in its effects here on the West Coast, and continues to be through the day today. Just drama, right? That's Leo, and Mars in Leo. Fire, Aries energy, bold, sort of uncompromising energy put into a fire sign that likes drama. And so you see that things that might normally have a temperature that is normal is suddenly rising, right? So we have higher temperatures literally, but in our own lives, we also see that things have heated up somewhere, right? And not necessarily in a bad way. So I know as I say it, I hear myself saying it and I'm thinking, yeah, that is sounding pretty negative, but often we're so stuck in the places that we are. We need fire energy, Leo, Aries energy, to light that match, to get us going, and then to create a pathway where we can move forward, purifying, if you will, our intentions, purifying our path forward. So it could be challenging, it can be beautiful, it can be liberating. It all depends on how that is playing out in your own personal life, and then also how willing you are to let some things change. Because if you remember, Aquarius, where Saturn is, Uranus in Taurus, and Mars in Leo, they're all what we would call fixed signs, right? They're ones that get dug in a little bit more than the other signs. When you have your Gemini, Libra energy, you're talking air and it's mutable. When you're talking, or Libra is actually cardinal. So we have cardinal signs, which are initiating. And then we have mutable signs, which like change. They thrive in becoming adaptable and being flexible. But then we have our fixed signs, and they stay the course, right? They hold the ground. And that's a good thing. We need that. But it can also turn into a negative when we refuse to change. And I think if you take a look around us, it's like there's still the same old going on. And what we're craving is something new. But I feel like there's a little bit of a fear about letting go and moving into that new energy, as if we're going to lose something, or we're afraid that moving forward is going to cost too much in some way, not necessarily just monetarily. It's going to cost us, right, to have to let go of something to move forward. If we stop living our victim lives, then we have to be responsible for ourselves. And that might be scary for some people. So anyway, lots of different things to consider this morning. And J-Lo says, it's coming for my 12th house sun. Yes, my moon is in Aquarius, Andy says, in my 10th house. So career focus, perhaps. What we really want to look at is where Uranus and Taurus are. So both of you, J-Lo and Andy, are looking at the right place, because the point of the T-square is at Uranus. So the challenge literally is for us to change, to move, to get off of our stuck zone, our rut, get out of the rut. And that can mean, with an injection of energy like Mars, it can be disruption as we start to move forward in that way. So, as I think about this energy for me in my own life, right? I can see where I have had a story or where I have been stuck. And if you think about it in terms of the greater world that you live in, your community or your nation, or the state that you live in, or what is it, a province, I think, in Canada, you can see where there are things there that we know need to change, but that there hasn't been the will, perhaps, to it. There hasn't been the belief that it would do any good. And now with Mars coming into this position and playing out this energy through the rest of the week, I think it's going to be extraordinarily clear that things have to change, that things have to move. So very positive, I think, in that we have a conundrum, something we've been dealing with, where we've been maybe vacillating or going back and forth, not quite knowing which way to go. This energy comes along this week and gives us maybe a not so gentle push into a new direction. And it doesn't have to be a negative thing. It just means that the way that we greet it is important. But remember, you're hearing about this, right? You're in the morning show here with me, and we're talking about this energy. And we've been talking about this building up for the last few days. A lot of people are not listening to astrology. They're just experiencing this world in this craziness or in this potential craziness and not really knowing that it has a purpose. So other people could be very grumpy or out of sorts or disoriented. So just have some compassion for the people out there in your life who may actually be the triggers to some of the energy that you'll experience or some of the issues that you might experience, but they're not in the know, right? So we have to have compassion and understanding. And the good news about that, Andy says it's 11:11. I love it. Andy says also Uranus is 29 degrees of Sag in your 5th house. So 29th degree karmic. Sagittarius has to do with beliefs, your philosophy, expansion in your life. The 5th house has to do with playfulness and experiencing creativity, bringing in more and more joy. And that's a good thing, right? So sometimes those energies will help us, even if it is karmic. And I know I've probably missed saying good morning to some people. Kamal, hello. Corey, hello to you. I think that's the only people I missed, maybe. Let's see. So let's talk first then about the moon today and what's going on right this minute. And then we'll take a look a little bit at the week ahead, which isn't hard because there's not much going on except, this crazy Mars energy. And then I'll take a look. I'll show you the chart for human design if I can get it to open. I think I might have closed. Maybe I didn't download it all the way. I don't know. And then we will take a look at some charts. I see Debbie has already volunteered for us to look at her chart. And hopefully others of you will feel like sharing too. Let's see. I'm going to re-download this. Just give me a second and see if I can make it work. And then, all right, good. So it downloaded. Interesting. All right, so if we look at the day today, the moon right now is in void. So if you're feeling like you're just sort of wandering around and not getting anywhere, it's because that's the moon. The moon is in the void, of course, in the sign of Aquarius, finishing up her transit through the sign of Aquarius. And of course, this is already an emotional connection to maybe changes that we feel are on the horizon. And something else just came up for me too. I'm thinking that maybe we feel a little bit like there's so much that's out of our control. So we may be in sort of a reactionary energy to the things that we can't control, like things like here, climate. Like the only thing we can really do about climate is to, do our own personal, be responsible personally for what we do, how much carbon footprint we put out there. That we participate as much as we can in purifying and being a good steward of the resources here. But those are big things that are out of our control. We cannot control the other big things that are happening when like tragedies happen, like what happened in Florida. So we may feel a little bit like there are these trigger points, these events that are happening, but that we also have no control over them. And a part of that is as the moon is moving through Aquarius or finishing her transit through Aquarius, that is a sign that's ruled by both Saturn and Uranus, who are also involved in this T-square. So the moon passing through that area of the chart is bringing up the emotional component for us, or instigating the emotions, but it is also a timekeeper, and she could also be telling us that the time is now for us to make these changes. Now, after the void, we'll be in the sign of Pisces. That's where the moon will go next. And as the moon moves into that, oh, by the way, the timing. The moon is in the void until 10:51 a.m. this morning, my time. So 1:51 p.m. for those of you on the East Coast. And after that point, the moon will be in a conjunction to Jupiter, who already is sitting at like 1 degree of Pisces. Let me see where Jupiter's. No, she's still at 2 degrees. So it won't take long for the moon to get to the 2nd degree of Pisces. So we'll have a moon Jupiter conjunction, which can sometimes be a lot of emotional energy, like something small that gets magnified or amplified into something bigger. We might have a tendency to do too much, go too far, eat too much, drink too much. So we have to watch proportions today, right? Today, everything is going to be about being in proportion, not overdoing, not over eating or over imbibing, overspending, nothing like that. Uh, Pisces energy in general is a really good energy for imagination. So today and with that T square being one of the hallmarks of the T square for the day is also about a trigger to our creative energies, that we can find creative ways out of the conundrums that we're experiencing. It takes imagination and it takes the creativity and then it takes the will to do it, right? So we see today that with Pisces, we have access to the imaginal realm, to fantasy, to creative energy. But there's also chaos in that same energy. And there's also confusion in that same energy. Remember, Pisces is a sign that is co ruled by both Jupiter and Neptune. Neptune adds the bit of confusion and not seeing things clearly, it being a little murky out there, hazy, if you will. My computer screen tells me it's hazy outside right now, and I would agree it looks a little hazy out there, and things aren't clear then. So we have to really, settle ourselves down, ground ourselves in order to be able to use that imagination energy. But the other thing about imagination energy is if it just stays up in the imagination or in the imaginal realm, we never take action on it, then we don't get to use the creative energy that's available. So we actually have to risk a bit moving that energy out of the imagination and down into reality, right? Down into our physical life. And when you do that, it might be amazing what things we might be able to achieve. Now, Pisces is also about inner happiness, right? Not happiness outside of ourselves, right? We all believe that we have to go outside of ourselves to find happiness. I think we talked a bit about this on Friday because the sun and earth combination in our human design are sitting at the gate of stillness or restraint, and also at the gate of joy and bliss and vitality. So we're learning that sometimes when nothing is going on, we can actually tap into our inner bliss or into that inner happiness. But within that inner happiness also lies universal love and ecstasy or ecstatic states, and of course, bliss. Pisces is also a sign known for psychic sensitivity, but also emotional sensitivity. Part of the experience that we've had with Jupiter in Pisces for the last month or so, and all the way through the end of July, is that we have been exploring emotions in our lives and how it is that we react to things, like what are our triggers, and learning how to maybe be more in response to what is showing up, not being a victim of our emotions or of the events that are happening around us, but in response to them. And sometimes response is just holding space for that energy to move on out. So we have psychic sensitivity, but we also have mystical awareness. Watch for, interesting dreams or experiences with your guides or angels, experiences maybe where you get some kind of powerful intuition and it is a huge benefit to you. So this is a time as well for trust, faith, and surrender. What we see today is that the moon herself will be at the gate 55, conjunct Jupiter also at the gate 55. So we have the gate 55 as the gate of faith and abundance in our human design. So we can see that trust, surrender, faith are all themes as well. And that it takes our own sometimes surrendering to what is in order to be able to feel our way through what is happening in our world. And then we have more access to compassion, to unconditional love, and also to spiritual healing energy or physical healing energy. And going back to unconditional love, Pisces is also a sign that triggers the need for us to be in forgiveness, to be understanding of one another, to be tolerant and accepting of each other and of everyone around us, being in oneness. It would really help the world if we could see that we were all one and we were all just having different experiences that were adding to the tapestry of life, right? So we're one maybe big organism, but with several different functions, millions, billions of different functions and different experiences and different likes and dislikes. But everything that is out there is applying its energy to the oneness, right? To the oneness. And it's only our own, what we see in Pisces anyway, is our own victim mentality that gets caught up in that, that makes us believe that others are wrong and we're right, or that, that different belief systems or different cultures or different races are not as tolerable as our own. So here we have a lot of lessons to learn around forgiveness and tolerance, but that oneness, if we could just see ourselves as a part of a bigger whole, and that we're just participating by adding our own beauty and our own genius and our own brilliance to that, then we would also see by default that other people are doing the same thing. They're just adding their own experiences and their own brilliance and their own genius to the whole. And it may be because their skin is a different color, or their religion is a different one, or that their culture is a different one. It doesn't mean that we have to feel fear or like victims to that kind of energy. In the addictions, deception, and disappointment, defeatist attitudes, victim mentality, all a part of the more lower frequency energy coming through the sign of Pisces. In the body, it represents colds, like the infections that we get, like influenzas and colds, that kind of thing. It rules the feet, our lymphatic system. And then, of course, because the lymphatic system would be sensitive to toxins, there's also a toxin and poisoning kind of energy here. And it just says that maybe we should be very careful for the next few days about what we ingest and what kind of environment we find ourselves in, and do our best to keep ourselves in purified energy, right? Drinking lots of good, fluids, and allowing the fluids to move any of those toxins out of our system. So we have a next couple of days where we have a lot of emotional energy. I didn't make a graphic for this because I don't know what happened to the time this morning. It sort of flew away. So I just want to talk us through. Let me see if I can open this graphic now. If I can open it. I don't know why it won't let me open it, so maybe I'll have to do it this way. It's definitely downloaded, so I know that. Let me go back and share my screen. I have too many windows open. Maybe that's part of the problem this morning. My computer's probably having a conniption fit. We lost internet this weekend too. I guess the West Coast, I have Wave broadband, and something got cut, some wire, some fiber optic line or whatever got cut, and it created such havoc. Everybody's internet went down from, let's see, it was from about 1 o'clock Saturday afternoon until early Sunday morning. And yeah, see, it won't open that. I don't know why. I don't know why. So we're going to look at it this way. All right, Asa or somebody, I need your help to tell me if you are seeing my screen. Move all that out of there. And let me go back over here to StreamYard for a minute. I know it's going to look a little cut off. Okay, I can see that my screen is sharing. Okay, so when we are taking a look at Pisces energy, and then I'm going to go into what the rest of this is all about. Most of Pisces gates are on the solar plexus. So here's the solar plexus, or the emotional solar plexus, we hear it called sometimes, or the emotional center. Sometimes we call it that. Sometimes we call it the emotional solar plexus. Yes, we can see it. Awesome. Thank you. All right. So the emotional solar plexus is the center for emotional energy. So every gate on here is handling some form of emotion. And as emotion is in human design is an energy, a motor energy, it has power to it. It has energy to take action, let's say. And there's two paths here. There's response energy, which means I am waiting, and I am kind of determining what this emotional reaction or what this emotion is showing me. And then I choose consciously what steps to take in response to that emotional energy. Or I go down the reactionary path. And the reactionary path is the one where we suddenly turn angry, or we start shouting at people, or we, do things, blow up our lives, that kind of thing. That's reactionary energy. And the emotional center holds the space for both, right? It's your free will to use your emotional energy however you see fit. And if you, of course, are reactionary, things are often maybe chaotic in your life or upending. And if you are in response, then you're seeing that that emotion is showing me where I might be out of alignment or not calibrated with my heart, with my inner self, with my true path or my authentic self. So emotional energy really gives us insight. Well, today the moon is in two of these gates right now. Actually, yeah, just before it shifts over to Pisces, we're in the Aquarian gate 30, which is the gate of desire. Right here is where we have the wants. Not desire like sexual desire. It's not about the physical. It's about it's not about the physical connection that we have to others. It's the energy of what we want, our hopes, our dreams, kind of amped up, and our wanting. It's a gate that I think in the shadow in Gene Keys is called hunger, where we are trying to fill a void. So the trick in the gate 30 is to not allow that neediness or that wanting energy to take you into an expectation of how it's going to show up. Like if you want something really badly, try to hold it lightly and allow the universe to bring it to you in the best way that the universe can, and not hold the universe to a pigeonhole that it says only this thing can happen. So we're holding our desires lightly. We are unattached to an outcome, but we are holding our desire there so we know what it is we want, and we're just allowing the universe to bring it to us in the highest and best way. Then the moon will shift later into the sign of Pisces and into the gate 55, where Jupiter is sitting. This is what I was talking about a little bit earlier this morning. And what we have here is trust, faith, surrender to a higher power so that we can become abundant. So the nature of the gate 55 is about abundance. And in the Gene Keys, this is about freedom, right? This is why I have the dragonfly on my wrist to remind me that freedom is attainable because it's within. It's not outside of me. It doesn't have anything to do with the circumstances in my life, how much money I make or how many people love me. It is all about enoughness, that in any moment I am enough, that there is enough. And so the gate 55 is a really great trigger for us to really see that we are able to be grateful for everything we have, for everything we are, for just being here and breathing and living, right? So gratitude lives here in some ways, freedom lives here in a huge way, and of course, surrender or having faith in a higher power that all your needs will be taken care of, that nothing's being withheld from you, is about the moon in Pisces. The moon in the gate 55 in Pisces. Now, from there, the moon will move up to the gate 37, which is also a tribal energy. It's an economic-based energy, and it's all about peace. It's also about friendship in some ways. But it's a gate where we want to create that peaceful serenity, where the question, would you rather be right or at peace, can come into play. On the emotional center at its highest, it is harmonizing, right? It's making things harmonious. From there, the moon will jump up to the head center at the gate 63. Can I do this? Let me see if I can. There we go. So up here in the gate 63, the head center, and this is the gate of self-doubt in the more negative energy. In the higher energy, it can be divine inspiration when you hold the space for the inspiration to take shape for you, and then take action, not trying to jump ahead and make things happen. So staying out of self-doubt and allowing the universe to show you the way. Interesting because it holds sort of a same theme as some of the more emotional gates. And then we jump back, the moon jumps back into the emotional center down here at the gate 22, which is a gate in its highest energy, which is about surrender, right? Surrender, it is very moody energy. This whole channel 12 all the way to 22 is very moody. And because it connects to the throat, it has a lot to do with right timing, because the mood has to be correct, right? Everything has to line up. The universe will align those things, but we are sometimes trying to jump the gun. Here we have to surrender to the process. We have to live by the mood that we happen to find ourselves in. Then we get to the gate 36, where the moon will conjunct Neptune, who is also at gate 36, which in its lowest energy is about chaos or turbulence. Let's add that to the week. And in its highest, it's about being able to share of experiences, to live for experiences, whether they're positive or negative, it doesn't really matter. It's about building your catalog of experiences and the wisdom that comes along when we are able to apply what we've learned in the experience to helping others, right? To helping the world, to helping our family, our friends, etc. And then finally, the last gate just before Pisces moves, or the moon moves out of Pisces and into Aries, will be the gate 25 up here on the identity center, which is the gate that is called universal love. So we have universal love energy kind of closing out that Pisces energy and opening up to Aries energy. So we'll be experiencing that a little bit later in the week. I think it's actually on Wednesday. So really good energies if we look at it that way, I think. Questions? I see your messages, Asa. Thank you very much. And so those of you who wanted charts done, we'll take a look at those in just a minute. So let's quickly look at what else the information shows on this chart today, because I decided I would show you from human design and astrology what was going on with the T-square. So we know that Mars today is clicking into the place that will send out that T-square, right? It's sending out the opposition to Saturn and a square to the energy of, or to the planet Uranus. So we have Mars sitting at the gate 33. And here is an interesting conundrum in and of itself, because the gate 33 is a pretty private gate. It is a gate in our human design where we like to sort of retire or, somehow move to the background, where it's a privacy kind of thing, where we're kind of private, where, what is the word I'm looking for? That where we're sort of maybe hermiting a little bit in this gate. And it's also a gate, though, that holds the human story. So we see that Mars is triggering both the need for us to go inward and to, in some way, retreat and maybe take a look at what's going on in our inner dynamic, and to also then connect to that inner dynamics story. And the story is either that we've come through lots of trials and we've rose to the occasion and we've been able to surpass that, or we've changed our attitude about something and it changed the whole experience that we were having. So Mars right now sitting at that gate 33, that is creating a need for us to rewrite or create a new narrative, right? A new storyline. And that storyline can be one that comes up from joy, a joyful place, rather than from the negative, even though it may start at, I had this challenge or this trial or this event that happened in my life. And at first it felt really bad and I felt like life was over for me, or I felt confused. You can fill in the words there. But then over time, I've learned to see how it was such a gift that the universe delivered to me. And this is what I've been able to do with that since. And I'm sharing this with you because I know you too have had challenges in your life. And I want to tell you that it's possible to overcome and to rise above that experience and to be able to put it in perspective and to see how it benefited you, and then to share that, to keep sharing that with other people. So it's a gate that almost seems to amplify the ability for us to all pick up on the new story, right? The new story. So that's where Mars is. Uranus is at the gate 2. So remember, Mars is challenging or coming into a challenge, a square with Uranus. So these two energies can sometimes be a little challenging to one another. The gate 2 is called the gate of allowing. And in the 2, it is the most yin gate in the human design chart. So this one doesn't have necessarily most yin or most yang. It is this one, though, that has most yin, which means to be receptive. It needs to be open. It needs to have, its heart wide open. It has to have its ability to see things in a bigger way and to receive wisdom, to even receive abundance or to receive resources. It is about allowing things in and allowing things to flow back out. So it's giving and it's receiving energy. It reminds me, there's a card in the Wisdom of the Oracle deck, and it is the law of giving and receiving. And that is what we see here at the gate 2. So Uranus is in a prime position for us to deal with issues like greed, or to deal with issues like lack, to deal with scarcity, and to be able to rearrange resources so that we can share equitably. And then as well, we have to be in receiving of that. We can't cut off our good by saying, no, I don't need that, give it to somebody else. Or no, I want to do it myself. There's that potential there. But the other potential is for us to be just open and thankful and be able to move things in and move things out. So giving, receiving, generosity, etc. Now, Saturn, let's see, how did I do this? There we go. Saturn is in Aquarius at the gate 19 now. Now, the 19 is an interesting place for Saturn. Saturn is very earthy, very down to earth, very practical. And the 19 energy is anything but, right? It's more sensitive. It's more looking at the energy connections between everything. So Saturn may be helping ground us into the practical everyday reality by being able to tap into the unseen realm and being able to receive information out of that sensitivity, right? To be sensitive to, what does this mean? What's the next step? How do I proceed? And in a way, this gate is also one that connects us to the natural order of the universe. So to the animal kingdom, mineral kingdom, plant kingdom, you name it, we are connected here. It shows the way that we are all interconnected, and not just all as humans, but all on the planet, right? Everything is interconnected. And being able to, intuit or tap into that and then use the information in a practical way, right? That's what happens here with Saturn. So you put all that together, and it sounds like, well, that's not so bad, right? That's not so bad energy, having maybe a private moment to help rewrite the story, having a sense of allowing and being okay with whatever's happening in the moment, and being as loving and giving as possible, and then to be psychically sensitive or energetically sensitive. But trust me when I say, every one of these planets, even though they're sitting in these energies, can create a challenge for us, especially because of the configuration that they're in. So be prepared. And challenges aren't necessarily negative, as I said earlier, right? They can set the tone for what comes next for us, getting us out of our ruts and helping us to elevate. All right, so I'm going to stop sharing. And I don't know how to get back there. There we go. And see how people are feeling about this. Christine says she has gate 33.4. I think, Ursula, isn't it your sun or maybe your north node that sits at 33 point something like that too? So let me just say real quickly, if you're someone who has the gate 33 open in your chart, meaning it's white, right? So if you're looking at your human design and you see that white channel, or maybe it's just that end of the gate or that end of the channel that's white, then this is energy that might be new to you, new feeling to you. So take advantage of this opportunity to rewrite your story and to tell a new story. Check in at all the times that you've told a story, and how does that keep you tied to the past? Keeps you tied to the negative, maybe, experience. And what could you do to tweak that a little bit so that, yeah, of course this happened, right? I got a divorce. My father died. My, mom ran off, or I lost my job. But then how did I move from that to the more positive end of things? And how did that benefit my life and allow that to come to you? And then the same thing with the gate 2 and the gate 19. If you have it open in your natal chart, your natal human design, now suddenly that energy is there. For those of you who have it defined already in your charts, it's just adding a little more energy to that, maybe taking a little different form depending on the planet that defines it for you. So if you know your human design and you know what planet sits there by birth, and now you're adding the energy of whichever, Saturn, Mars, or Uranus, then you can see how there might be a tweaking tool that you have on that particular energy and how to use it a little bit. Andy says they're all white for her. Well, they're not at this moment, right? They're not at this moment. All of them are defined, which means that you have access to new energy. And that energy may be connecting up to, like, for example, at the gate 33, if you have the gate 13 at the opposite end, now if you have the gate 33 open and it's now defined by the planet Mars, and you have gate 13 hanging, it's now completed the channel. Same thing will happen at the 2 and the 14. Same thing will happen at the 19 and the 49. So, and those of you who have the 49 hanging, this psychic sensitivity that comes up with the gate 19 right now may help you really connect to an energy of revolution in your life, right? Creating this big change that's possible, moving in a new direction. So, all right, time-wise, we have some time, 8:42. So let's see, Debbie, you were the first one. First of all, if you have questions, go ahead and still put those in there. And Asa will get that question to me. So I'm going to probably only be able to do 3 charts. Let's see, who did I have here? We had Deb. Asa, where did you go? So I have Debbie, I'll have Mimi, Andy, and JLo will probably be the last ones. Let's see if we can get to those. So first of all, let me go to my astrology program and get the chart for you, Debbie. And why do I have that? Chart of the moment. Okay. And I don't think I can draw the lines in. Oh, maybe I can, like we did the other day. Wouldn't that be fun? Let's see if I can handle that. Put it into paint. I think that's how I did it. Okay, so now let me go back and share my screen with you, Debbie, and we'll be able to see your chart. And woohoo. Okay, here we go. So it says I'm sharing, so I'm going to assume you can see the chart, Debbie. And first of all, we're going to do a circle outline of the planets that are involved today. This one isn't going to help us. Sorry, I'm going to have to stop sharing. I checked the natal chart, not the transit chart. So one moment while I correct that. There we go. Because we need to see how it's affecting the planets in your own particular chart. And copy that, put it back into paint. There we go. And let me reshare my screen. Perf. Okay, so Debbie, now you have your transit chart sitting here. So the first planet I'm going to circle is going to be Mars, because he's sitting right up here at the top in your chart and right there. So we have your Mars in the ninth house, which is a very expansive house, but also takes you to the need to look at your personal belief systems and your personal philosophies. Like, how do you view life, and how have you been viewing life? And I know that your life, in particular, since I've known you, has been filled with several different traumas and dramas. And how have those served your evolution of consciousness? Would be maybe what Mars is driving at here at the gate 33. How do you tell those stories? And remember, every time we tell stories about things that have happened to us, we still feel that emotion. So you might even notice in your own body when you're retelling a story, or even when you're rethinking about that story, even if you're just telling that story to yourself, you're feeling it in your body somewhere. That emotion comes up. Now, you'll know that you're getting beyond those stories when you begin to notice that when you tell that story, it becomes more, you're more detached about it, or more, or less emotional about it. It's like you're relating a story, but there's not that emotional trigger to it. And now we can go on and we can add perhaps the telling of how that has benefited you, or how you've moved on. What was the treasure in the drama or in the trauma? And what did you do with that? And how did you move on? So that's where Mars is for you, in that elevating your perspective, climbing up to the tallest tree, to the tallest building, and surveying your life in the bigger picture of things. And then if we look now at Saturn, Saturn is in Aquarius, and that is right here, transiting here. And then we have Uranus transiting in Taurus, which is right here. So when we draw the lines now to make these connections, we have Mars coming to Saturn, and then Saturn coming to Uranus, and then from Uranus up to, or down to Mars. So you can see the nature of the T-square with your open spot somewhere about right here in the chart. So if we did this, it would look sort of like an arrow, right? So we have a T-square with an arrow pointing at Uranus. And this has to do, for you, Uranus is in the health house, the house of service, health, the work environment. And since I know that you don't have a job as such, it's probably not going to be about your job. It may be about maybe taking up some, charity work, or some kind of service work, sharing your brilliance in a different way with the world, stepping up, if, as it were, to be something for someone, to share of yourself with others. And as well, because this is a sign that also rules the health of the body, to really tap in and take care with your health, doing all the things that you can do to support your health. The opposition with Mars in the ninth house and Saturn in the third house is that Saturn here may have been creating a pathway where you've been thinking too small. And the opportunity here is to think bigger, right? To think broader, to expand outward. And the balance point for you in Scorpio lies in the 12th house. And here in the 12th house, it is looking at what fears might be there. Particularly with Scorpio on the 12th house, Debbie, it can be fears that, are subconscious, but yet they're still running your consciousness, if you understand what I mean by that. The subconscious mind is the one that's really driving your experiences, right? Because it's the one that has the automatic reaction energy to events that happen in your life. So whatever patterns were established either in this lifetime or even previous lifetimes, they can create a limitation in this lifetime, or they can create a continued feeling based on the way that the energies played out in your life. So your great opportunity here is to take a look at what fears, limitations, self-sabotaging energy is at work in this life, and what can you do to release them. And even though this is happening past your natal Saturn is still being triggered. It sits at about 6 degrees. This is happening at 12 degrees. So really it's still within orb of you being able to see how maybe the past has really been playing out in the present in your life, and what fears, limits, blocks, things like that are still limiting you. So I hope that's helpful. The thing here for you to do is to remember that all fear is limiting, and the moment you choose to release the fear, the block, the pattern, the self-sabotaging behavior, it poofs, goes away, allowing you to move into health, moving into being able to rewrite your stories. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing Debbie's chart here. And the next person was Mimi. So, and Debbie, if you have any questions about any of that, you can certainly type it into Asa and she'll get that to me. So now I'm going to switch over to Mimi's chart. I haven't looked at your chart in a while, Mimi, so this will be fun. And going back to StreamYard to share my screen. I forgot to copy it. Because I'm not sharing it the same way. Okay, over here, back to StreamYard. There we go. All right, Mimi, you should be seeing your chart now. And let's see, we're going to do the same thing that we did with Debbie. Let's take a first look at where we can find everything that's happening. If we go to Taurus down here in your second house, we see, I'm going to make that red. You will see Uranus. And then when we come over here, we'll see Mars in Leo. And up here then is where Saturn is going to be over here in Aquarius. There we go. So we have the 11th house, Saturn for you, the second house, Uranus for you, and the 5th house where Mars is. So let's connect them so we can see how that plays out in your life. I'm going to change that to black, and then we're going to draw a new line from here. No. Now a new line from there to here, and then from here to here. So now what we see, let me draw the empty space over here too. So about right there. So what we see in your chart, Mimi, is a Mars that is empowering your creativity, as it's in the 5th house of creativity, joy, playfulness, recreation. This is where the sun is in your natal chart, Uranus is in your natal chart, and Pluto is in your natal chart. So you have stored within you a lot of that creative energy, and it comes out in the artistry, the things that you do, your creations, right, that you make in the world. So Mars here keeping that creative energy flowing. In opposition, we have Saturn. Now remember, Saturn isn't always all fuddy-duddy energy. Saturn energy can be creative as well. It can create by causing us to become grounded and to have a plan or goals. A plan meaning that we can take step by step to get to where we want to go. And where Saturn is in your chart right now is the 11th house of the bigger dream, the bigger vision. And sometimes what we find is we don't have a vision, right? We don't necessarily have a vision. So, or a dream, and it doesn't have to be something huge like, world peace, creating world peace. But, for someone that is an artist, it's creating beauty, one scarf at a time, or one painting at a time, or one basket at a time, whatever it is that you're doing. So the dream for you is the driver here. So Saturn is driving the dream or the vision of what it is that you want to accomplish. And then when we look at Uranus, Uranus is in the 2nd house for you, which is a money house. There are not any planets in here that are interfering with Uranus, or Uranus passing over and creating a money challenge. But because it's also a house of self-worth and satisfaction in what you have accumulated in your life, or satisfaction in the work that you're doing, that Uranus here can help you to see how really good you feel about the work that you've done or about what you're creating for the world. But it is also maybe needing to take a look at then how are you being fed by that yourself, right? What is it? What's the bang for your buck in all of this? So even though this is kind of natally not necessarily challenging you in any spectacular way, even the empty spot over here at 12 degrees of Scorpio is far enough away from your natal Saturn that I don't know that there's any major triggers here. But I would say keep tapping into the satisfaction you feel when you're sharing of your beauty, you're sharing your art or your products, and to keep following a bigger dream of what that joyfulness in creativity means for you. But mostly this should be a pretty good transit, not necessarily one that's going to be of a disruption sort. Okay, who was after Mimi? Asa, it was Andy. Andy girl. So Andy girl, I'm sorry, I'm going to need to know your name, your real name, because I don't know that in my program that I have you as Andy girl. I'm going to check real quick and see, but I doubt that I do. Andy. Yeah, so I need your name, sweetie. We'll go back to this so I can see maybe, because I know I think we've looked at your chart before. Hi, Natasha. And Kathleen, good to see you. And you're welcome, Mimi. I sent it to Asa. Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay, so Andrea. Okay, let me look at Q. Did you go by another last name by chance? Before that one that she gave me, Kimbaya? Making sure I spelled that right. No. Don't have that. PQ. All right, so Andrea, while I'm waiting for that, the last one was going to be J-Lo. So Jacqueline, let's get yours while I'm waiting for that. And then if you could, Andrea, send your birth information into Asa, that might be helpful. All right, Jacqueline, let's get your chart screened, shotted here. And there we go. So Jacqueline has Taurus in the 12th house. No wonder you resonate with all that 12th house energy. So here we've got Uranus. So this can lead to a lot of aha moments, right? A lot of ahas coming up from the subconscious mind, coming out. It can be coming out in self-sabotaging ways. It can be coming out in very empowering ways, right? Where you suddenly realize, oh my gosh, I've been holding myself to this specific way of being or the specific attitude or the specific thought. And now I can release myself from that. And if we go over here, we see Saturn is in Aquarius in your 9th house. And we can see then that Mars is in your 3rd house. So when I start to draw the lines in here, you're going to see something similar to what we saw with Debbie, only the pointing in a different direction. So we have there, and then I got to make sure we go here, and then we come down here. So the point for you is sitting in that 12th house. So the most exquisite of the energies, right? The peak energy, the point, right? The focal point is in Uranus, or at Uranus in Taurus in your 12th house. And even though that's sitting at like 12-ish degrees, it's very close to your natal Mercury, your natal Sedna, and even your sun is within 10 degrees of it. So in the building up of this energy over time, you've really been having to look at how can I return to a higher spiritual way of looking at the world? How can I release myself from fear? How can I tune in to what it is that I've been using as self-sabotage and to be able to see a path forward? I liken the 12th house to a place where we've got a bunch of stuff sitting on top of our light, dimming our light, as it were. And with the sun in the 12th house, there's, a natural kind of hide and seek. Let me tamp down my light, as if I shine too brightly, people are going to notice me. Or if I shine too brightly, people are going to judge me. If I shine too brightly, people are going to want more from me, or they're going to, take pieces of me. So we tend to, hide, move back. And then as well with Mercury here, there's a need to really understand the voice and what is it you're saying? Is there a subconscious way that you're jumping to the plate and saying things? So a lot of energy focused here on uncovering your authentic self, unpacking the truth of who you are so that the real true spiritual being that's in there shows up, right? That's been the point. The opposing energy between Mars and Saturn has been about elevating your mind, changing your belief systems, or working on your belief systems or your philosophy, asking you to broaden your horizons, as it were, to see the world from an expanded point of view, to see yourself from an expanded point of view, and to release that small thinking, right? That the third house, Mars, for you is triggering a sort of blowing up of the mind, right? Opening that mind, being having that broader outlook. The balance point is in Scorpio, taking a look at how this is affecting the work you do, how the balancing point would pull you into the physical, grounding energy. Also here, sitting very close to the natal vertex, that's VERTE here. They just leave off the X for whatever reason. But the vertex is a point in the chart where people enter into your reality, whether it is for a positive or a not so positive experience, depends on what it is that you're learning. So chances are there are going to be people here that pop in over the next couple of weeks, actually, that are going to show you what lies hiding your light, what's in this 12th house that's hiding your light. So they may be triggers to you releasing yourself from those triggers. So it could be emotional. It could be also just the old tapes running in the background, which we all have. But in this case, it looks like that's something coming up for you. And okay, so I'll try answering those questions too, Asa. Thank you. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen there. Did we get Andrea's name? Other name, perhaps? I know I've heard that name. Now, I mean, I recognize your name, Andrea. I just don't know why I'm not finding it. So let me go back to this way of looking at it. Oh, no, was that November? Was her birthday? Yep. Okay, I do. I just have you as Andrea and in parentheses and Andy girl. So now I'm going to go add your last name into it in a little bit here, so we don't come up against this again. I apologize for that. If I had thought to look for Andy girl, I probably would have found it right away. Silly me. And let me get this up on a screen or in the, we'll take a quick look at that. And now, it's a little more cumbersome in StreamYard to get to the sharing screen, but I still love this program. All right, hopefully you're all seeing Andy or Andrea's chart now. And let's do our little dance here and do the circles. Here is the sign of Taurus, where we have, oops, it should be red. There's Uranus. And then we have Leo over here, where we have Mars. Ooh, there's a personal thing going on here. And then Saturn on the opposite side over here in the 7th house. And let's draw in our line. So yours is completely different than the other girls that we looked at. We've got the square. We have the square. We have the opposition. And then we have our path down here. Ooh, good stuff. All right, so for you, Andy, what we have is a T-square that is pointed up at Uranus that happens to be in an opposition to your natal Pluto. So there are some big, big things moving through your life. If we look at the house relationship here, we see that Uranus is in the 10th house, which is affecting your worldly self. There should be something new emerging out of you. How old are you? 88. So you're 30 something. So there's something wanting to come up here to express itself authentically and with authority, and that being in your 10th house with Uranus in it, there's an awakening of sorts coming on. And the fact that the balance point to all of this is, I'm going to circle this just so you can see this, that your natal Pluto sits at 13 degrees, which is right in the midst of all of this. So even though this is a T-square by transit, it's actually creating a grand square with the inclusion of Pluto in your natal chart. So I could, if I wanted to, if I drew in, let's see if I can draw in some yellow lines, that you can see that then Saturn in transit is connected to your natal Pluto, and that Mars in transit is connected to your natal Pluto. So, and just because of the way I drew that, it looks a little lopsided, but truly what you have is two T-squares, right? One pointed at Uranus, the other one pointed at Pluto. This would make the other one, but those two together create a stable but challenging aspect pattern called a grand square. So, and if you look at the grand square in your chart, they're all in fixed signs. So one of two things just popped into my head for you. One, maybe you have been leaping into and out of things for a while in your life. That's given the maturity level that you're at. And I'm not saying that you're immature, please don't get me wrong. It's just that your age, right? Your age, you're only in your 30s. So you're still in that discovery and still in that, who am I and where am I going and who am I going to do that with? And it's possible that you've been kind of scattered with that. Or the other possibility is you've become very fixed in that, maybe too steady or too, stuck in your ways. And this pattern may be indicating to you it's time to either settle in or time to shake it up. I'm not sure how that's playing out exactly in your life. The fact that you're a Scorpio, are you? No, you're a Sagittarius. Maybe it is a little bit easier for you to be, leaping around instead of being more steady. So perhaps this is the call. Now, Uranus is up in the 10th house and Pluto's in your 4th house. So a lot of that has to do with you wanting to be maybe family of origin, lineage issues, right? Throughout time, not just this lifetime, but lifetimes. This is a time for you to transform that lineage. So for some reason, you've chosen to come into this life with sort of the responsibility of changing the direction of your lineage, of moving it in a new direction, elevating it, maybe letting go of whatever it was in the past that had held you to a fixed nature. Then we have the opposition of Mars and Saturn in a place where Mars is the action in the 1st house here for you. So changing your own personage, your own viewpoint, what you look like, what you love to do, everything to do with you personally, and bringing more and more of the true and authentic you out into view. Like Leo here is on your 1st house. So you're meant to be seen. You're meant to be heard. You're meant to be in the center of attention. So Mars bringing the need for that. And remember, Venus moves in here, or moved in here on Sunday, Saturday or Sunday, depending on where you are in the world. And now Venus is adding her creative energy to this picture as well. So we have feminine creativity in this 1st house, and we have masculine now in this 1st house for you to really embrace. Then when we look at, and I'm taking you way out of what we did with everybody else, but the ruler of your 1st house is the sun. And the sun in your chart is in the 5th house, which is ruled by Leo. So we have mutual energy here, mutual reception, we call that. And so right now what we have is a redirection of your creative energy to really begin to express out in the world that creative you, that powerful creation energy that you're holding. And it requires you to jump out a little bit and take some risks. So even risking to settle down if that's what's needed. The Saturn is in the 7th house, and I don't know if you're married or if you have a significant other, but this is where maybe leaning into that relationship, creating a solid connection with another can help you also in the settling down process. Or if it's been a process of being too settled down where you're feeling stifled by that relationship, you may have to address that in the confines of the relationships that you're in. So hopefully that is helpful to you. And let's see, Asa had sent me some other questions. Let's see here. Question from Debbie Tibbetts Tumiel. What if I don't have a clue of what fear is holding me back? Well, let's look at it this way. It doesn't have to be a fear like where I know that I'm afraid of heights, right? Or I'm afraid I'm going to fall, or I'm afraid of being seen, or I'm going to screw up. Those are fears that, we can almost readily identify with. But there are other fears that are more subtle that come up as things like holding myself back from sharing something, or I'm afraid that, well, I happen to know that you've had a time in your life where you were extremely easily able to channel or to be a medium, right? And that maybe something happened along that there's a subtle fear of sharing of yourself from that deep place, either because maybe I might be wrong, or I might be, people might think weird things about me, or they won't value what I have, because remember, you're a projector. Projectors need to wait for an invitation to share their wisdom. But in some ways, there may be a potential here where that's underlying your fear. Any place where you're not living out the highest and best of who you want to be in the moment is a place where there's likely something, maybe not an overt kind of fear, but maybe a covert one that's playing in the underside of things. I hope that's helpful. I hope you understand what I mean by that. And thank you, J-Lo, reminding everybody to please take a moment and hit the thumbs up if you're enjoying the video, and share it with your friends, your social media. I would love that. And then for those people who are listening that are new, please hit the subscribe button. And we're so close. We're getting so close to that 1,000 point. It's really kind of getting exciting. As I didn't think I was really still excited about that, but every time I see more, I'm like, oh, wow, this is really getting exciting. So you're welcome, Andy, and everybody out there. I can't see what all the comments are at the moment. Oh my God, J-Lo says, I've been playing peekaboo with my canary lately. And do you remember a couple weeks back, I'm going to actually take extra time here at this moment to pull this card out, because canary, we pulled a card for somebody out of the Colette Baron Reed, the Spirit Animal deck. And canary, I'm not going to get the card probably as easy as I will get the canary itself. Do I have an index? Canary Spirit, card 12, page 38. I just have to share this because it was so funny. The Canary Spirit says, sing your own song. So you've been playing peekaboo, like coming out of your closet, and your canary is saying, sing your own song. And its Canary Spirit arrives to help you find your authentic voice and express what is in your heart. Free yourself to experience your inner light and let it shine as Canary Spirit sings, to remind you of your inherent joy and to support you as you sing your own song. Now is the time to let the world know who you really are. Love it, love it, love it. I could go on and on, but I do have to get going here. So if there are any of you that did not get your chart read today that still want one, that likely we can still look at it on Friday, even though, oops, whoa, almost knocked my computer over. Even though the square T-square with Mars will be over, it's building into the T-square with Venus. So it will still be apparent that that's something we can look at. So we'll try to do that on Friday with everybody. It's not a huge week. Unless there's something that I think comes up, I will not be here on Wednesday. I will see you all on Friday. Thank you so much for joining me today. Much love to all of you. Stay cool, stay aware, stay in love and joy, and see things from the higher perspective. Thank you, Asa, so much for being out there and getting me information that I need and just for being the support behind the scenes. Love you all. See you on Friday. Bye for now.